Well, hello, and welcome to another Space Foundation Space Commerce Entrepreneurial Interview. I'm Shelli Brunswick, the Chief Operating Officer at Space Foundation. Today, I have the privilege to interview Kiran Chin. Well, hello, Kiran.
Hi, Shelli. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so honored you could join us today. Let me share with our audience a little bit about your background. So, Kiran leads MKA's global strategy practice. She's an experienced leader on topics including finance, strategy, and marketing. Kiran works closely with small to mid-sized firms on business planning, marketing penetration strategies, competitive positioning, scale up, and globalization. Kiran has nearly a decade of experience in mergers and acquisitions, integrations, marketing strategy, and channel strategies at the business unit level in companies such as Thermo Fisher and GE. Prior to her experience in the private sector, Kiran was a political strategist in Los Angeles, advising politicians on complex litigation matters, construction projects, public planning, and economic redevelopment projects. Well, again, Kiran, thank you so much. We're so honored you could join us today.
Thank you again, Shelli. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. Well, the first question our audience always likes to know is, can you tell us a little about your background and how did you get to where you are today?
Absolutely. So the journey for me, I always start when I'm about 5 years old. This is just after arriving to the United States for the first time. My parents and my 5 siblings and I had emigrated from Pakistan. And, I am starting to realize that maybe I don't fit in with my family. I am naturally curious. I question everything. And I am just getting responses back to some of those questions, like why does the grass grow or why does the sun go down, in a way that isn't feeding that natural curiosity. And I apply myself in school. I find those answers in books. I start to become academically inclined. And I'm realizing there's a difference in the way that I think versus the way that the rest of my family thinks, primarily my parents. And I'm realizing that it's going to be difficult to continue with the expectations that they have of me. And so what I end up doing is realizing at a very young age that I focus on logic and reason. I like the sciences. I like the math. And that's really different from the religious perspective that my parents have. And, we're going to continue to have these ideological differences. And so by the time I'm in the 2nd grade, I realized that my path to being who I want to be intellectually is really through academics. Because one of the things that our parents routinely said to us when they brought us to the US is, with an education and in America, you can do anything, be anything you want to be. And I saw that runway for myself. And I decided, well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this education to really create that path and that life for myself. And not only that, we have ideological differences, but I also saw where we were as a family, income-wise. There are now 7 kids. I had a 7th child in the States. And I remember sitting at home filling out these free lunch applications with my father. And I remember distinctly this number of $36,000 a year of household income for a family of 9. And I thought at the time that was great. Free lunches, even better. And I realized slowly over time that, if I'm going to make an impact for myself, I'm going to make an impact for my family, I really do need to let this education be my path to that different life. And so fortunately for me, I was academically inclined. I did do well in school, and, I had options to go away to college. And what I ended up doing was going to USC in Southern California. I moved from Philadelphia to USC, and it was a great first step and opportunity for me. And this STEM child that I was, started studying in a pre-med track. And, it was a lot of fun. But I also experienced life for the first time. This girl who was in a conservative religious household who didn't quite experience life, went to college for the first time and was transplanted into a different world where the culture, the food, the people was just all so different. And for the first time, I was able to experience the real world outside of books. And that's exactly what I did. I still loved academics and science, but I was learning in just such a different way. And unfortunately, my academics suffered. I just did not have the time to do the 300 pages worth of reading for OChem or biology every week. And so I changed my majors, pursued a degree in economics, graduated with that degree, and didn't know what to do with that. And so came across a lobbyist, and he pointed me in the direction of politics and the county of Los Angeles, where I ended up getting a job working for an LA County politician. And it was great for a time until I realized I'm doing great work, helping great people, but this isn't quite as close to the sciences or math or engineering or technology that I wanted to be. It's actually so far removed. So how do I get back to the things that I'm comfortable, that I'm passionate about? And I had spoken to so many folks, business individuals, and they said, look, if you want to jumpstart your career, you really need to go get a degree in business. And so I moved across the country again and went back to business school, Boston College, enrolled there for an MBA. I got my master's in finance. And, didn't know what I was going to do with those degrees before I got there. And then when I got there, I said, well, it'd be great if I could apply this science and math and business combination in investment banking, or, finding that next blockbuster drug in biotech. And unfortunately, that was not the route for me, because I graduated when the economy collapsed the first time. The housing bubble burst, and there's a flood of financial professionals. And myself, with this academically trained financial knowledge, just not a lot of investment banking opportunities for someone like myself. So I ended up taking the job that was in front of me, not the job that I wanted. And about 6 months later, I ended up getting called back to Thermo Fisher Scientific, where I had done an informational interview. And they asked me to apply for this business development, mergers and acquisitions role, which was assisting this $1 billion division of the company. They're focused on genomics, cellomics, protein biology, selling raw materials and supplies to biologics manufacturers like Pfizer and Amgen. I said, this sounds fantastic. I would love to do this. And I applied. And that's really where the second part of my career in the sciences really started. The first part of my career in the sciences really started, and that's where I was for the last 10 years. And then about 3 years ago, I decided to start my own consulting firm. I'd spent about 10 years helping solve different business challenges. How do we increase sales in certain regions? What are the gaps in technology? How do we change market perceptions? I mean, I was the tip of the spear in a lot of these divisions and business units, helping to solve some fairly difficult business challenges. And it was fun, but I was faced with a layoff, and I opted not to look internally, and that's when MKA Insights was born.
Amazing, amazing journey. And I know one of your nicknames, or they call you, is the fixer. So that's going to come into your journey. So can you tell us more about your company then, and how did that start? I mean, I kind of understand how you got there, but why start your own company? And again, we'll have to learn more about you being called the fixer.
Well, so the company is another origin story. I feel like I have distinct times in my life where I've started and stopped. And when MKA Insights first started, it was on the tail end of something that would otherwise have been a little bit painful. I was laid off from a company that I'd been working for several years. And it was something that I was thinking about doing, just separating from the company and venturing out on my own. And I didn't really pull the trigger until that trigger was pulled for me, when they said, okay, well, we've shifted strategy for what we're trying to do. You can either look internally or, here's your package. And that was the moment I said, I have run into a couple of roadblocks in this corporate world. I've climbed the ladder as far as I can go. And, I just don't want to continue going through that heartache of hitting my head against that ceiling and wanting to break through and not quite knowing how to get through that door. So I said, I will just take my destiny and control it. So let me start this company. I don't quite know how I'm going to start it or what we're going to do or how we're going to get clients, but I'm going to take a leap of faith and start a company where I'm the boss, I drive the culture, and we're going to change the way we treat people. So that's where MKA Insights was born. The company itself is a management consulting firm. I mean, I do a lot of what I used to do for internal business units and divisions. We solve difficult business challenges. And the term management consulting, I laugh at myself. I did not know what it was until I actually started this company. And the term really comes from consultants that help management, that help business leaders, owners, and executives solve some fairly difficult business challenges that often end up moving the needle for that company. And it's perfect for who I am as a person and what drives me. I solve different challenges every day. Some challenges I've seen before, some I have not, but I'm a fixer. As you've pointed out, I like to solve problems. I know that about myself. This business journey that I was on over the last decade and a half, it's let me do the things that I love to do. And while science and math are my passion and I love it, I know what I do exceptionally well is solve problems. And I get to do that on a daily basis, and it's a lot of fun.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask, what is the most interesting thing that has happened to you since starting your company?
Well, I think and many entrepreneurs hopefully resonate with this comment, but I feel that I know myself for the first time in a long time. That person has always been in there, but I've tried to fit myself into a box or another because I was going for a specific role or doing a specific job. And now, though, that box no longer exists, and I can truly discover who I am and what I do really well. And what that is being a fixer, knowing and liking solving problems. And so the most interesting thing that has happened is I've discovered who I am truly for the first time in a long time. It's like this person that has always been in there, has been trying to find, what are you good at? What do you like doing? How do you apply that into a job in a company? And I somehow just not a fit, but kind of on a different axis. And now I know what that is. And that to me is the best part of being an entrepreneur, is the self-discovery process.
Amazing, amazing. So again, some people, they want to be entrepreneurs, but you aspire to that. So what is it about entrepreneurship and being a CEO that really attracts you to this?
Well, I like being the captain. I think the people that know me, the people that work with me, know that I like to take a leadership position. It's something that I gravitate to naturally. It's something that people have assigned to me, whether I have asked for it or not. And it's fun. It's fun to have the ability to steer the ship in a direction, being the first one out there, looking on the horizon, saying, this is the direction that I want to go, or that we should go. It's going to be a fun journey, or we're going to learn a lot, or we're going to be successful, or there's going to be a win in this direction. And then getting the organization or the company to rally behind that idea and convincing them that that is in fact the right direction to take. That entire process to me is extremely thrilling. And I like seeing the end results. And so that CEO position that I hold is a lot of driving the ship or steering the ship. As an entrepreneur, you get to do the same. And then in the industry or the company that I run, I get to do that again for our clients. We get to help other managers and business leaders and owners see that direction and help them steer the ship as well. And so that entire helping people steer the ship, me steering the ship, everybody's seeing what that opportunity or that potential is, and sharing in that excitement and rallying the troops to make everybody align in that direction and then executing in that direction. All of that combined is just what attracts me to the entrepreneur role, the CEO role, and then specifically the CEO role at a management consulting firm.
Awesome. So here's a fun question. How has this job and how has this worked out? What is the difference between the actual job and what you thought the job would be? And do you have any other lessons learned to share with our audience?
So 2 thoughts here. The first one being what I thought this was going to be, running a company, being a CEO of a management consulting firm, is very different than what I spend a lot of my time and energy on, and that is human resources. I am absolutely blown away by the amount of time that I spend trying to find the right individuals that fit with our culture, that have matching skills and the aptitude to learn. And that is a tremendous challenge, I think, for any organization. And I did not realize how big of a challenge that is as a CEO of a small startup. And not only that, we are constantly training and trying to upskill the people that we have so that they can grow into their roles. It just really is constant how much HR, human resources, recruiting and development work that I am personally focused on. And the second lesson or thought here is the amount of responsibility you have for another person's livelihood. I think one of the scariest parts of my job is making decisions that directly affect the lives of the people that work for you. And I think for me, the very first thing that I did before I made a decision to bring anyone into the company was, can we hire this person and retain them for 2 years? Do we have enough revenue to be able to do that? And I've worked in large companies, and I know they generally keep 3 months worth of payroll. And that might be okay for larger companies. It just wasn't enough for me as a small startup. The person that we're bringing in, I felt a personal responsibility to that person, their family, their house, the personal decisions that they're making to buy a house, start a family, all of those things that as individuals, people do. And starting a job with a startup is extremely risky. And I wanted to take that fear of working for a startup away. And so what I do personally is just take on this responsibility of keeping our company going so that we can employ that person and give them the stability that they need. And every day that I wake up, that 2-year clock resets. And so I'm always thinking, well, how do I make sure that today we find the client, or that we grow, or we're sustaining what we're doing, so that these people that we're employing have another 2 years from today, from tomorrow. And so I guess that's another HR element that I guess I'm speaking to, but the personal responsibility of affecting another person's livelihood is just a big lesson, or burden, or responsibility that I carry with me every day.
I agree with that as well. As the chief operating officer, 80% of my day is consumed with HR and people, and because at the end of the day, people accomplish the mission. I mean, I was in the Air Force, so taking care of your people helps take care of what you're trying to accomplish in your organization. So I wanted to ask you a question. At the Space Foundation, we have our Center for Innovation and Education, and we have a workforce development roadmap of awareness, access, training, connecting, and mentoring. So I wanted to ask you, have you had any mentors or individuals that have helped you in your journey? And what have they done? And what is some great advice as a mentor to others that you would like to share?
I feel so fortunate to have had several individuals across time that have extended a hand, visible, invisible, in just promoting me as an individual, assisting me in making decisions. There are several people that I can think of off the top of my head. It's this neighbor that lived 3 doors down from us that told my mother, let me be free, let me fly, because I will do great things. And it's the teachers that fed my curiosity. It's the lobbyist who pointed me in the right direction and then mentored me for the next 20 years. It's that first manager and friend at my job who also mentored me. It's my husband, it's my children, it's my parents. There are just so many people that I can think of that have collectively come together and fuel me. And the best thing that I get from all of them is confidence. It's this ability to keep going, and that I can do it, and that I am capable. And everyone over time has said that. And being an entrepreneur, I think this story may also resonate, is it's such a psychology to running your own business, because there's so many days where you go, am I doing the right thing? Should I stop? Should I continue? And just leaning into that collective sail, the wind in my sail that all of these people have provided me with, has really kept me going. And I am tremendously grateful for all of those individuals in my network that have helped me along the way.
I completely understand. We don't get to where we are in life without others being part of the journey. So I thank you for sharing that. The other thing that's always important is, what are critical skills do you feel you have helped you start and continue to grow your business? And are those skills required for all entrepreneurs, or were they just helpful for you? So I think sometimes people think, like, to be entrepreneurial, I have to have this skill and this skill and this skill. So I really would like your thoughts on that.
Yes. So I have the perspective of being an entrepreneur as well as helping other small startups and companies. So seeing what I have done for myself, and then seeing how other business leaders are successful or not successful. And we talk about hard skills and soft skills. So hard skills are things like knowledge, technical awareness, project management, problem solving. Then soft skills are the people management abilities, it's the confidence, it's a certain je ne sais quoi, as you will. And I think the soft skills lead. On balance, I would say about 80% of what I do, of what I see these successful leaders, startups, business owners do well is the soft skills. It's the people development, it's the people management, it's the confidence, it's the risk in making a decision. It's all rooted in the soft skills. So the ones that do well, and I think what's helping me do well, and I spoke to it just a minute ago, is confidence. It's making decisions, knowing that sometimes you'll make mistakes, but then learning from those mistakes and then moving on. So I think that soft skills are just incredibly useful. And more importantly, if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about what can I do to be successful here, the best lesson or the best advice that I can say here is to believe in yourself.
I think that's amazing. That is excellent advice. Believe in yourself, find mentors, find people who encourage you. Those are great. Do you have any other advice you'd want to share with entrepreneurs that you've learned that might be like, oh, I wish I had known this before I got to this point? It might have not changed your mind, but it might have been just helpful because maybe you got surprised by something.
I don't know if there's anything that I was surprised by, but again, I think one of the skills or abilities or advice to share with an entrepreneur is believe in yourself, but also listen to objective reasoning. And I think anyone, again, who knows me knows that I'm a glass half full kind of a person, but I'm also pragmatic in solving problems. I mean, I've said before that no does not exist in my vocabulary, can't does not exist in my vocabulary, but I'm also someone who knows that there's a reality that we need to deal with. And so some of the things that have helped me is knowing when to step back or change direction and listen to objective reasoning. I think all of us who are business leaders, owners, entrepreneurs, we run the risk of becoming very passionate about what we're doing and believing in it so much that we don't hear objectively when others want to say or have beneficial things to say about the direction that you're taking. And so the advice that I would give here to others is just take the time to listen when other people are providing their feedback. And, you're the ultimate decision maker. So, the context in which this information is coming across. So when you're evaluating that feedback, just be mindful of what the objective is of that person or that individual, and objectively listen to it before making your final decision.
That is great insight. Let's talk about over the last year. Obviously, COVID has happened, and how has that impacted your business? Is there anything you want to share? What have you maybe learned over the last year during COVID?
Well, COVID has been obviously a world impacted travesty for everyone. Our business, however, I think has been insulated from that a little bit because of the industries that we serve. So we're, again, in the sciences. Some of our industrial verticals include life sciences, clinical diagnostics, biologics manufacturing, all of the industries that really came together over these last 18 months or so and came together to solve this collective world challenge of how do you quickly diagnose someone who has been exposed to the coronavirus. And then separately, how do you quickly research and develop and then manufacture the vaccines so that this doesn't continue to persist as a pandemic. So those are the industry verticals that we serve. That's where our clients come from. And I've been fortunate that, as a small business, this science and technology field is where we have chosen to be. And I'm Fortunately, for many industries, they've taken a hit. This industry has really just continued to grow and expand.
Fantastic. Well, Kiran, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so fortunate to have you. Do you have any last comments for our audience?
I do have one final thought for your younger audience, as well as parents of children who have kids who are inclined to the science and math and engineering. They're problem solvers. What I would say to them is get them to college, get them to study some kind of scientific discipline, and then let them figure out from there. There isn't just one job or one career path in the sciences. And I've learned that. I had a preconceived notion of what I thought I was going to do when I grow up, and I'm not doing that in any way, shape, or form. I'm so far removed from it, but somehow I'm still very close to the science, very close to innovation and technology, but I'm just applying myself ever so slightly differently. So I would, plug shamelessly education and a love for science and technology and math and say, please continue studying and loving the sciences, and know that there are just so many jobs out there for people like you and I who, are problem solvers, who love science, who love math. And I think that's how you and I connected too, Shelli, is, I loved space. I was a space enthusiast. I still am. I recently learned through a lot of conversations over the last couple of years that we have a burgeoning space industry through the privatization of space. And now there's a whole new set of jobs out there that I never knew existed when I was young. So that's the greatest thing about what we do in this field is science is ever evolving. It's constant discovery, new fields, new industries are emerging. So if you're a kid who loves science and math or loves to solve problems, keep at it. Don't think you have to figure it out today. Just get to the next rung. And I bet you by the time you're in college, you'll have so many more options than you have today.
That is fantastic, Kiran. I don't think I could have said it any better than there's a place for everyone. So thank you so much for joining us. And for our audience, if you're interested in learning more about our space commerce program or watching another entrepreneurial interview, go to our website at spacefoundation.org and check out our space commerce series. Thank you again, and we look forward to you joining us. And Kiran, we hope you'll come back in a couple months and tell us how things are progressing coming out of COVID.
I would love to.
Awesome. And there is a place for everyone in the new global space ecosystem.